Avenue Capital's Marc Lasry now for our weekly check-in on the markets. Marc, it's good to talk to you again.
Pleasure to be back.
Seems like every week we talk to you, we've taken another tick up in the market. It's astonishing, really. What do you make of it?
I don't understand it because every week all you constantly have is more bad news, where companies, like you just had sort of the CEO of McDonald's telling you how horrible things are going to be. I think the market is excited about the fact that things are going to reopen. But if you take a look at areas that have already reopened, which is out in Asia, things there are going really slow. So I think you're going to have a pretty slow, stores may be reopened, but for people to start spending money and for the consumer to be there is going to take longer. So I think for us on the credit side, anything that is being restructured, they're going to have issues. I think every other company sooner or later is going to have to come back to reality.
Yeah, you're going to be busy looking at all the opportunities that you may have. And you know, in some respects, or maybe every respect, this is right in your world. I mean, the reason the equity market is where it is because of the credit market being where it is, right? And we have definitely had a thaw since the first time we had you on discussing the market. You'd agree with that, right?
100%. Look, all of this is, this isn't based on fundamentals. And I think Josh spoke about it and you've spoken about it. It's all based on what the Fed is doing. So if the Fed continues what it's doing, I mean, the markets are going to keep going up and there's just more and more liquidity. But sooner or later, reality has to come back and people have to look at what's a company making. So whether that's 30 days from now, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, it'll get there. It's just going to happen.
I want to talk about a segment of your business that we really haven't discussed much of late. And let's do it now. And that's aircraft leasing. You know, we just had our news update. Sue Herrera said we're looking at 1.5 billion fewer international travelers this year. Dave Calhoun, CEO of Boeing, was on yesterday talking about, he used the word thaw in terms of what he was seeing. How is your business of airline leasing, doing right now?
Well, I mean, look, that's having issues. And it's obvious just simply because planes aren't flying or they're not flying as much. So really what we're doing there is working with everybody to just give people more time to pay us back and to do what they need to do to get back to normal. So I think we've got to work with people and give them the time. And the question is it 3 months, 6 months, or a year? That I don't know. It just depends on how quickly people start flying again. But, obviously that business for us and things we've invested, that's going to get hurt just because you've got to give people more time. And then on opportunity set, you're able to come in and, whether it's on financing or whether it's buying new planes, you're able to do those on anybody who's got to sell. You're able to do those at pretty big discounts. I
was wondering about that, almost more of the latter than the former, certainly thinking that part of the business would obviously be hampered given the environment that we're in. But do you also think that on the backside of this, leasing aircraft like you do to airlines will be more desirable for them rather than making a bigger ticket purchase from a Boeing?
I think for, in what we do, we buy planes that are 8 to 15 years old. So I think what you're finding in that market right now is people who need to sell will sell those planes at, I would tell you, probably 20 to 30% lower than where they were before. So that's the opportunity set. Everybody knows people are going to be flying again. The question is just how long is it going to take for it to get back to normal? We think it'll take about another, about 6 months to a year.
6 months to a year to get back to normal, or to the point where people are even just flying again? No,
where people are flying and you've got people on the planes where at least it's 50% to 75%. I think normal of being where it was a year ago, that's going to take a long time.
There's been numbers, 3 to 5 years have been thrown around. Is that in your ballpark?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I think once you've got a vaccine, people aren't going to have any issues flying. And the question is, how quickly does that come?
What's desirable to you right now in the credit market? You have, companies that have come to market. There's talk today, David Faber earlier was talking about what Boeing may do. How do you view a Boeing offering? How did you view a Delta offering? How do you think about that space in general?
I think those are all fine because I think the returns, you're coming in at a secured level. And so you'll be fine because when you look at the numbers, you know that you're going to have enough cash for the next couple of years. So I think you're fine at that level. The question is, what do you want to do on the equity side? And I think that's going to be harder.
So you bought Carnival bonds,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Anything since then?
No, yeah, we've been buying quite a bit. I mean, we keep on buying, but it's really on sort of restructurings. I mean, we've been buying more on Frontier Communications, the cable company. We're buying more on Intelsat. Anything that's in a restructuring, because people don't want to be involved in that. What people want to be involved in is buying Amazon, buying Apple, buying things where they think there's little to no risk. Nobody wants to be involved in risk. So if you're involved in risk, you can actually generate some really high returns.
How do you view, retail department stores, things like that? We talked about Neiman Marcus, I think, the last time you were on, just about a week or so ago. How do you see all that shaken out?
Look, I think that you're going to have issues there. I think for us, when we're investing in that industry, when we're investing in Macy's or JCPenney, for us, we're looking at the collateral value and saying that even if things take longer, we're covered on the collateral. And so that if you had to have a liquidation, we'd be fine. So that's more how we look at it. If you don't have a liquidation, which I don't think you'll have in any of those situations, but we're investing right now at 2 to 3 times where it was pre-COVID. So today, let's assume a company, if it was making $100 million, we're investing in that company at $200 million by buying the debt. Mm-hmm. So where do you think EBITDA comes back? Does it come back 50%? Well, if it does, then it's 4 times where we've created the company. So for us, we're pretty comfortable where we're investing because we know that if things don't work out, we'll be able to liquidate the company at our cost, or the company will liquidate at our cost, or a little bit higher.
Oblige me for an NBA question or two before I let you run.
Absolutely.
Are we going to have a season? There seems to be now a developing conflict. Talk about reopening facilities. Maybe that has folks looking forward to a season, though there seems to be chatter on the other side suggesting we should cancel. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of unknowns, but we are, my opinion is we will end up having a season. We'll have the playoffs. But that's going to be a whiles away. And the question is that in July or is that in August? I think we've got to get back to everything being open. So I think the NBA is, a number of the facilities are going to open May 8th. I think for somebody like the Bucks, it's going to take longer just because we've got to comply with the stay at home. But that's okay. You need to get started. So I think some teams will have a little bit of an edge, but that's life.
That is interesting, though. You will have teams who have a head start in getting, back to business, getting their basketball bodies and minds ready for a stretch.
Yeah, you will. But I think we need to do that. I don't think we can wait for everybody to be on at the same time frame. And, if the goal is that you want to end up having a season, let's get things opened. Let's get people getting back in shape. And then we'll figure it out come July or August what we can do in sort of finishing the season without fans. Because what's clear is people want to see sports. You're seeing it with The Last Dance where you're having record earnings. You saw it with the NFL draft where you had record viewers. So I think as you have that, people want to see sports. So I think we'll end up finishing the season. Yeah,
we're starved, right? The Last Dance is awesome, but nothing beats the real thing. Marc, you take care of yourself. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. All right, take care.